Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Wendy. I'm a little stuffy today with the weather change, but I was really excited to get this video out to you. I think it turned out super cute using a Goodwill item that I found. And if you like this video, I sure would appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button so I can notify you every time I make a new DIY. So I found this sweet sign at the Goodwill, and it is pretty big. I don't know the exact measurements, but it was only $7.99, and I knew I wanted to do something with it because it has a cute little picket fence looking style. But as cute as it was, it's just not my colors, but I'm going to use the spring side to do our DIY and make it into something for Christmas. So first, using my handy dandy Cricut spatula, I pulled all of the embellishments, the wood pieces. Well, they're not actually wood, they're like a press board type of material. And I mean, these guys were on there hard. It was like Bondo on there. And so I couldn't even get them off to where it was flush like you can with Dollar Tree items. But I had to end up sanding it all down, which was really easy. It came off pretty easily. But I had wanted to save the letters, and they were just having nothing to do with that. So after sanding all of the letters completely off, I laid down a coat of acrylic paint and just covered it completely, gave it 2 coats, and then got it ready for the next step. So one of my sweet followers had recommended that I use contact paper for doing vinyl stenciling, and I found this at the Goodwill. It was only 99 cents, so I thought I would give it a shot. And I cut it down to 12 inches. In hindsight, I will next time cut it down to 13 inches just to give an extra inch on the cameo silhouette. And so it will feed better into the rollers. But I cut it down. It still worked with the 12 inches, but I just measured all the way and ended up cutting the whole roll, so I didn't have to do it for next time. But I cut out the saying that I wanted, which was Jesus is the reason for the season. And because I made my Jesus so big, I had to do it at a slant so that it would all fit on there. And it worked out really well. One thing I will show you in a little bit is how you can actually double load the contact paper and it stays in there better, because it has a tendency, because it curls, it will kind of want to come back out. So I'll show you that in a few. But here I'm just weeding it out and taking the letters off because I'm going to leave the negative part to put my paint into. I'm doing this with one hand because I'm trying to record at the same time. So sorry for all the jiggling of the camera. But on the settings for this, it is an auto blade, but I put on the type of material. It was under craft paper with sticky backing or adhesive backed. That's what it was. It was craft paper adhesive backed. So I used that setting and then just kind of slowed it down a couple of notches, and it worked out perfect. I was really surprised. I didn't think it was going to work out, but it came up like you saw very easily. And so I went ahead and cut all of my letters and sayings, and I had to break it up again, like I said, because it was so big. I had to do Jesus separately, and then is the reason for the season. Here's where I'm showing how to double load. I don't think I invented this, but it's already loaded. And then the trick is to turn it off and then turn it back on, and it will ask you if you want to load or unload. So I just hit load again, and it fed it in a second time. I have the Cameo Silhouette 3, or it's a Silhouette Cameo 3, I don't know. But I just got it a few months ago and I'm loving it, but there's definitely a learning curve on using it. So my recommendation to you, if you're thinking about getting one or have one and just haven't used it very much, it just takes practice. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos so that I can learn you know, some of the tips and tricks to make it an easier experience. So here, after I've gotten everything cut out, I'm trying to figure out the placement, and that J is really big, so I have to do some manipulating. I'll show you that in a second. But once I get the placement, I'm starting at the bottom so that I can work my way up. And I'm measuring, you know, I'm not going to be completely precise, but I did measure as far as the width. But most of the time you can pretty much eyeball it. It's just that this was such a big project. I wanted to, you know, make sure that it was as close as possible. So I just marked where I was going to place the contact paper once I got it down and stuck on the back, and how far from the bottom, you know, just to make it the same, because it is such a big sign. Anything that you're off will probably show more than just a little project. So I'm taking the adhesive backing off, and I actually had to kind of piece together the transfer tape because I was running low. So it's kind of Frankensteined on the front. I didn't show that, but you'll see that too in a second. But I just took the backing off and then placed it down on my sign, and then I'm going to get it all straightened out and try to keep as many bubbles off as I possibly can, because I want a really clean line when I go to paint it. So once I pulled all of the transfer tape up, I go in with my little squeegee and get all the edges as stuck down as possible. If there's an area that's bubbled up, I just took my utility knife, cut it, and then laid it over each other so that it would be closed down or pushed down all the way so that no paint would run underneath. You'll see in a few too that wasn't exactly what happened, but if I would have painted right, it would have kept it from bleeding. So I went in with my Apple Barrel black chalk paint, and using a makeup sponge, I started dabbing at a up and down motion, but straight up and down, so that I was thinking it would not bleed. But the trick is that you have to get as much paint off as you possibly can. I think at the beginning I actually did, but it was when I went back in like the second coat where I kind of pushed a little harder than I should have, just because I wasn't being patient. And so it did end up bleeding. But you'll see too that on the second set, when I did Is the Reason and Jesus, I did take my time and was very intentional about keeping the paint to a very minimum, because you can always add paint, you just can't take it off. And you can see here how my lines bled. And I think one of the reasons why is because my paint, my original surface paint, the white, I was using a big brush, a bristle brush, and so it made some lines in the actual foundation and on the sign. But I liked that because it looked more like wood. So I went in with a white chalk paint marker. that didn't work out too well because it kind of made it a gray color. So at the end, I'm going to go back with the original paint that I used and touch up those bleeding lines. Here's where I'm trying to make this transfer paper work, or tape work, and I'm having to piece it together so that it will hold better. I just need to get some new transfer tape. So this is how you're supposed to do it, and you can see how great and crisp those lines are when you tear off the contact paper. Completely different outcome, and it looks so pretty. I was really excited, but that's part of the learning curve. That's what these tests are for. So after I pulled off the contact paper, I think the problem was there was kind of a sticky residue from the contact paper, and I could have, put it on something to make it less sticky, but I think the reason why, even if I would have done that, is because it was probably a little older, and because it was at the Goodwill, it probably sat around for quite a while. So I'm guessing that a newer roll would have not had that same problem. So here's where I have to finagle the J. You saw that line that's there. I cut in between so I could dislocate the J, or put it in its own position, a different position. And so I placed that where I wanted it, getting my J in the place where it wouldn't, where it would fit, and then just went through the process again. When I went to place my J, because I had completely depleted my transfer tape inventory, I just went ahead and pulled it apart on its own. Because it was so big, I was able to lay it down manually without using the actual transfer tape. Now I'm going to make my bow using this buffalo check ribbon from Hobby Lobby. It's $9.99, but you get it 50% off every other week. And so I just rolled it over on top of itself 3 times on each side, so there's 3 loops. This is double-sided, so it doesn't matter that you're not twisting it in between loops, so that makes it super easy. And then just using some jute string, I pulled it together and tied a knot, and then fluffed it out and made my little dovetail ends, and it was ready to go. So this is that Queen Anne's lace from the Dollar Tree, and I really like it because it's very muted and it works well with the buffalo check in black and white. And then I used a star ornament and then this bell ornament. I'm just going to use the greenery off of this, but I want this star, to signify the Star of Bethlehem, and it's double-sided, or 3D, so it would have stuck up and I couldn't have placed it flatly on the board. So I just split it apart, and when I did, some of the glitter came off of the plastic form. So just using some Aleene's tacky glue and some glitter I had on hand, I just stuck on the glue and then replaced that glitter. Now I'm just going to use some hot glue and place that onto my sign. It's a little bit crooked, but I don't think stars are perfect. So now I'm taking off the greenery on that bell, but I don't use it until the end. First I'm going to put the bow on at the very top using hot glue, and then I'm going to embellish that with some of that Queen Anne's lace. Before I do that though, I'm going to use some of the, like that frosted greenery. They come in bunches at the Dollar Tree, and I had already used the berries that were on there and flowers, so it's just the greenery, but that was from Dollar Tree. Here I'm just kind of fluffing up the tails of the ribbon or of the bow so that they kind of have a little bump up in them, and I think that looks really cute. So here's where I'm adding the greenery, and I just stick it under the loops of the bow so that the stems don't show, but you want to make sure that you do leave enough of the wire stems so that you can have something to attach it to, and then just cover it up and hide them with the loops of the bow. When you're placing greenery of any kind inside of a bow or around a bow, I always use the loops of the fabric of the bow to kind of push the glue into place, and then that way you don't burn yourself, but it gets a good hold and everything stays in place. Now you've seen me use these bows that I used for my sister's birthday party in pretty much every project we've done so far, but it was the perfect addition and it was the perfect size, and they just really come in handy. So I just hot glued that to the bottom, and then using the greenery from that bell ornament, I cut off the burlap and just added it to the center of that bow, and then added the small pine cones that were also on that ornament. And then at the end I'm going to bump up my little tails again, and then using some of the Queen Anne's lace, I'm going to add that. Apparently I don't do it until later. So here's where I'm trying to touch up the bleeding that was going on, and I just used a super small paintbrush, and with a very patient hand I went in and, you know, fixed those bleeding lines. And I don't know that it was totally worth it, because I don't think it showed that badly, but I knew it was there, so I wanted to get rid of it. Now I always seem to think of things at the last moment, and so I should have done this before I pretty much did anything else, but I added the black distressing lines on the edges all the way around the sign, and I think it turned out so cute, you guys. You know, in the picture it's not even as pretty as it is in person, not being boastful or anything, but I think it really turned out so cute. I love the message, because we do need to remember the reason for the season, and I think it looks so pretty. Now the two sconces on the side, I haven't started my actual Christmas decorating yet, so that's still in my fall decorating, so don't mind those, but give me a comment and let me know what you think. Anything that I could have done differently, or some tips and tricks you might have for using your I need to get used to saying the cameo. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My voice is starting to give out even more, but I just wanted to make sure that you had time to get this ready for your house, and when it's time for you to decorate for the Christmas season, which I'm super excited about. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're new here or you haven't subscribed yet, I would love and appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button. If you like that little nutcracker dome and the jug that says, "Baby, it's cold outside," I'll link those videos down below so you can watch those DIYs as well. I appreciate everybody watching. I just went through a sneezing fit, and so I'm stuffed up again. But thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone has an amazing Christmas. Remember the reason for the season, and we will see you next time. Bye.